It was a cold October night in Barron, Wisconsin, when two gunshots shattered the silence of a quiet home. In just minutes, Jayme Kloss's parents were dead, and she, just 13 years old, had vanished. The crime scene left more questions than answers. All that remained was a broken front door and a haunting void. Jayme was gone, and for 88 days, the world would not know if she was still alive. While police investigated, the small town sank into fear. Hundreds of volunteers searched forests, passed out flyers, lit candles, but nothing. No trace, no clues. It was as if Jayme had been swallowed by the silence left behind. But she was alive, hidden, watching, and one day she decided to run. This is a story of quiet courage, of a kidnapping meticulously planned, and a girl who no one expected would find a way out. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and tell us in the comments what do you think helped Jayme survive. In the early hours of October 15, 2018, the Barron County Emergency Dispatch received a chilling 911 call. No one spoke, just muffled sounds, screams in the background. The call lasted less than a minute. It was the first and only warning of what was about to happen. When officers arrived at the Kloss home, they found a horrific scene. James and Denise Kloss, Jayme's parents, were dead from gunshot wounds, and the 13-year-old girl was gone. The house was eerily still. No signs of a struggle, no broken furniture, just a kicked-in front door, two bodies in separate rooms, and an empty space where Jayme used to be. Whoever had entered knew exactly what they were doing. Police immediately ruled out the possibility of a runaway. All evidence pointed to one thing: Jayme had been taken. In the hours that followed, the community responded with urgency. Barron, a town of just over 3,000 residents, had never seen anything like it. Volunteers began combing nearby woods. Flyers were posted on poles, store windows, and highway signs. Police issued daily bulletins, but each day passed with the same unbearable silence. No sign of Jayme. The FBI was brought in within 24 hours. Rewards were offered. The Kloss home was searched, neighbors questioned, roadblocks set up. The only lead: that silent 911 call, likely made from Denise's phone. A desperate attempt, cut short by the intruder. No fingerprints, no footprints, no trace. It was as if the killer had rehearsed every move. Meanwhile, Jayme's image became a symbol, not just of fear but of desperate hope. Her young face, once full of life, now stared back from missing posters across the country. And while no one knew it then, Jayme was alive, locked away, alone, and learning, day by day, that survival would depend on patience and timing. Within the first 24 hours after the crime, the priority was clear: find Jayme alive. Police searched the area around the house. Tracking dogs were deployed, and drones scanned the nearby woods. On October 16th, the FBI and Wisconsin's Division of Criminal Investigation joined the effort. A full-scale manhunt had begun. In the first week, over 2,000 tips were received. Witnesses mentioned a suspicious car near the Kloss home, but nothing solid emerged. By October 18th, the possibility that Jayme might be dead began to take hold. But what no one knew was that she was already over 100 kilometers away, hidden under a bed in the rural home of Jake Patterson, held in silence, under strict control. Later, Patterson confessed that he had seen Jayme by chance, getting off her school bus, and decided she would be his victim. He studied her family's routine, disabled their doorbell, wore a mask and gloves, and entered the house with a 12-gauge shotgun. He killed Jayme Kloss at the front door, then forced Denise to bind Jayme before killing her too. Jayme, stunned, was shoved into the trunk of his car and driven to a remote cabin in Gordon, Wisconsin. There, Patterson created an invisible prison. He kept Jayme hidden under his bed, barricaded with heavy boxes. When visitors came, he played loud music to drown out any sound and threatened her with death if she made a noise. Days passed, then weeks, then months. By October 20th, investigators released a surveillance video of a dark car near the Kloss residence, but no leads came of it. The trail went cold. The 10th day came and went with no sign. Meanwhile, Jayme lay silent in her captor's home, observing everything. She couldn't fight yet, but she was waiting. The first days were paralyzing. Jayme was numb, confused, and terrified. Patterson imposed strict rules: no speaking, no noise, no movement. If someone visited the house, she was shoved under the bed, surrounded by weights and bins. Loud music masked any sound. Her world shrank to darkness, dust, and fear. Patterson kept her locked up and monitored. He would leave for work, then return and check if she had moved anything. He kept his shotgun close and reminded her what would happen if she tried to escape. Jayme didn't know how long she'd been there. Days blurred. Her identity, her childhood, her voice, all began to fade in that silent prison. But Jayme began to adapt. She studied his routines, memorized his habits, and waited. She watched the way he moved, where he kept the keys, what time he left. She counted the minutes, tracked the light outside the window. Her body weakened, but her mind refused to collapse. By day 50, the community's hope had dimmed. Candlelight vigils continued, but many feared the worst. The search effort was scaled back. Even law enforcement began to question if she was still alive. Jayme, however, was. She was listening, calculating, preparing, and by day 80, she was ready. She had learned everything about her captor, what made him angry, what made him careless. She knew where the front door key was. She knew when he left. And above all, she knew something Jake Patterson would never understand. She was stronger than fear. It was the 88th day of captivity. Jayme Kloss stayed quiet, just as she had been trained to survive. But on the morning of January 10th, 2019, something in the air felt different. The sound of the front door closing didn't echo the same way. She knew Jake Patterson had left, and maybe, just maybe, he would be gone for a while. Her heart raced, louder than her thoughts. She knew what she had to do, and she knew this was the moment. The house was cold, wrapped in rural silence in Gordon, Wisconsin. Jayme slowly pushed aside the bins and weights that hid her under the bed. Her hands trembled. Every noise felt like an alarm. When she stood up, her weakened muscles protested. She didn't know what was beyond that door, but she had to cross the living room. She had to reach the door. She had to run. With cautious steps, she walked across the wooden floor. The key was where he always left it, on the fireplace mantel. Her fingers touched the cold metal, and for a moment, she froze. But she took a deep breath, swallowed her fear, and turned the knob. The door opened, and then she ran. Without shoes, without a coat, her face pale and her eyes shaped by months of captivity. The snow burned her feet, but she didn't stop. Jayme ran down a dirt road, surrounded by towering trees, until she saw a woman walking her dog. The stranger's face twisted in shock as the girl came into view. Disoriented, breathless, Jayme could only say one thing: "My name is Jayme Kloss." The woman froze for a moment, then rushed her to a nearby house, where they called. The girl the entire country had been searching for was alive and free. The 911 call was placed at 4:43. Officers arrived within minutes. Jayme was taken to safety. She could barely speak, barely process what had happened, but she had done the impossible. Escaped the man who stole her life. After 88 days in the dark, Jake Patterson was arrested later that same evening. Without resistance, he was on his way home, completely unaware that Jayme had already ended his story. Just hours after her escape, Jayme was examined at the hospital. She was emotionally shattered, but alive. Jake Patterson, then 21 years old, was in custody. During interrogation, he confessed without hesitation. In chilling detail, he explained how he had seen Jayme getting off her school bus and decided she would be his, how he planned everything, how he killed to get her, how he believed no one would ever find out. Authorities revealed more horrifying facts. Patterson had shaved his head, removed his car's license plates, and used a 12-gauge shotgun to carry out his plan. He thought he had executed the perfect crime, he was wrong. The case never went to trial. In March 2019, Patterson pleaded guilty to 2 counts of first-degree intentional homicide and 1 count of kidnapping. By May, he was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. He would never see freedom again. Jayme didn't attend the sentencing hearing, but her words were read aloud in court. He thought he could own me, but he was wrong. I'm stronger than he will ever know. The courtroom fell silent. Her statement echoed far beyond those walls, a reminder of what survival really means. Patterson was transferred to a maximum security prison. His name became synonymous with cruelty and cowardice. But Jayme became something greater, a symbol of strength. Justice had been served. Not through revenge, but through resilience. A girl who lost everything, and yet never lost herself. The story of Jayme Closs isn't just about a brutal crime. It's about a 13-year-old girl who endured the worst of humanity and still found the strength to survive. For 88 days, she lived in silence, under threat, cut off from the world. But when the opportunity came, she didn't freeze. She ran, and she showed that courage can live in even the smallest, most fragile of bodies. Jayme didn't choose what happened to her, but she chose how to respond. Her escape became a symbol of hope for thousands of victims. Her story reminds us that not every tragedy ends in silence. Sometimes it ends with a door swinging open and a girl running barefoot through the snow toward freedom. If this video moved you, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And tell us in the comments, what do you think helped Jayme survive? Physical strength, intelligence, or something even greater, the instinct to never give up?